Hey everybody, P. Turner, executive producer and host of your Break It Down show, doing today's introduction with our guest, Laura Orrico, who runs Laura Orrico Public Relations. Laura is a friend of mine. We've had a number of her clients on the show, and I thought it would be fun to have her on to kind of talk about her battle and her journey. She is an actress. You for sure have seen her on CSI Miami. You've also seen her on That 70s Show, and almost for sure, if you watch Funny or Die videos, you've seen that Call Me Senator video. She's Barbara Boxer in that video. It's fantastic. She's a hilarious actor. On the surface, it seems like Laura has this perfect life. You might see her at the recent SAG Awards, hanging out with Brad Pitt, and all kinds of other famous people. But the reality is that she lost her husband somewhat recently, a couple years back now, to glioblastoma, the brain cancer that we talked about Attila Haidu with. If you haven't seen that episode, you should definitely check that out. But when you get a terminal cancer type of diagnosis, you still have a life to live and decisions to make and a family to run. And this is part of that story, goes into what that's like to navigate through that life-changing experience and then have that end and then transition back into a more longer-term life. And I know you're going to love who Laura is, how she's approached life, and the things that she's drawn from it. It's just such a great episode. By the way, hat tip to Taylor Ledden for being so awesome. She's always helping me with, she works with Laura, so we're all talking all the time. I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged her. But back to what Laura does. Laura loves her clients, loves her work in front of the camera, whether she's modeling or acting, and I think that comes across in this episode. The other thing I wanted to say is, if you want to support the show, we always appreciate that. You can share the show. You can make comments when we post the show. Any of these kinds of interactions help a lot. Obviously, new shirts should be out. I think I'm going to press the button tomorrow on new shirts. So go to breakitdownshow.com. Subscribe. Let me know what else you want to see, who you want to hear from. We're working on trying to get some big guests coming up here for the next, we're almost at 750. We just got to 700, and today's episode is 709. Can you believe it? So anyhow, we keep going forward. We appreciate everybody's help. I cannot believe how incredible the show is, and I just want to be thankful and grateful to everybody. Hey, one last thing. Save the Brave. SaveTheBrave.org. Go there, put a small amount of money in each month. We will appreciate it. I want to take one more moment, since it's Friday and we have a lot of things going on. If you want to donate to charity, especially for COVID type things, go to CharityOnTop.org. You can send anyone a charity card. Do you have a friend who's a nurse or a frontline worker, someone working at the grocery store like my friend Mike Brown, and you just want to say thank you to them? Get a Charity on Top gift card. You can send it to them, and then they can pick the charity that they want to donate to. I think it's a clever way to say thanks to someone who's out there sacrificing it, or just to say, hey, I want you to give to the charity that matters the most. I appreciate you. So CharityOnTop.org. Do that, and you will have my thanks. Here comes Laura Orrico.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Moranis.
This is Stuart Copeland. This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, this is Laura Orrico, and you're listening to The Break It Down Show.
Laura is one of our underachievers that we like to feature on the show. She, is like, I'm going to try acting, and does it. I'm going to try modeling, and does it. I'm going to try PR, and does it. What do you, are you bad at things at all, Laura? What do you suck at?
Yes. I'm bad at a lot of things. I can't keep plants alive. Flowers, I try.
Hilarious.
And I water them, but just not the right amount, either too little or too much. So yeah, I'm not a good gardener.
Well, you got to be bad at something.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so when you introduce yourself, obviously depending on the crowd, but just in general, you're like, when people say, what do you do? What's your answer?
Yeah, because I do a few things. Well, most of my life, I was a TV actress and a model. So now I just say I own a PR firm in Chicago and I represent clients across the country. And as a hobby now, I am a television film actress.
As a hobby. You're sort of like Bo Jackson, where your hobby is professional baseball.
Right, exactly. It's a hobby, but I still love it. It's addicting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things where as people see you, you get picked for things that you fit for. Like it's just,
Right.
they're like, why look for somebody else? Laura can do the job. And so you get that work.
I'm going to hire you as my agent if that's okay.
I can't sell myself. You don't want me selling you.
It's okay. As long as we don't have any plans, we'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people have probably already seen your work, and in this case, I'll just mention your Funny or Die video that you did when you were Dianne Feinstein, and talking about what you've earned in terms of titles.
Barbara Boxer, the Barbara Boxer
Sorry,
sketch
you're right.
from David Zucker. Yep. I knew what you meant.
Yeah, the Barbara Boxer thing. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
But yeah, so Barbara Boxer, you play her, and it's hilarious because then all of a sudden it devolves into this title fest, and it's pretty hilarious. Millions of people have seen this thing.
Yeah. It was produced, written, directed by David Zucker, who did Airplane and Naked Gun and a lot of the Scary Movie franchise. He had seen some of my work and asked me if I would play her. He said, could you play her? And I said, yeah, give me 2 or 3 days to learn to emulate her. And what she had done was really disrespected and talked down to a general.
Right.
And that clip of that went viral. So David's like, let's make it go a little crazy. And he did. And I played the part, and it was a blast. Oh, we had so much fun in that. And that had, I'm sure it's exceeded now, but over 10 million views collectively everywhere that it was posted, from YouTube to Funny or Die, you name it. And television too. CNN even ran it. Fox ran it. Everybody ran it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking right now at the Right Change YouTube page, just because that's the first one that came up.
That's where it originated, yes.
And it's got, on this version of it, it's got 1 million hits. But you're right, like if you go to the Funny or Die or any, it's just been seen millions of times. And it is so perfect. And it's clever political commentary that doesn't have to be political. Like, we can often get high and mighty and want to claim something. And then you look around and you're like, oh crap! I'm sorry, everybody. I'm a jerk. So
right.
It's just, it was, and it's super. Yeah, you can see the Airplane influence. You can see the Zuckerian thing when it devolves into everybody saying everybody's title and everybody's taking offense and nothing gets done and it gets chaotic. It's just,
right.
It's 5 minutes or 2 minutes of brilliance, and I think the world of you for doing it and nailing it like you did.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, and it got a good message out. And I think, to this day, I'm still really good friends with David, and we just have a blast working together and keeping in touch, and we're good friends. How
do you sort out what your days are going to look at? I don't mean like on your calendar, but I mean, okay, so as a small business owner myself, right, I've got to do production, I've got to do post-production, I've got to do pre-production, I've got to do marketing, I've got to do some sales. And, I am always busy. And one of the things I struggle with is I have to do certain things and everything else comes after that. But then organizing those buckets in a way that makes any damned sense to like a long-term strategic plan, which, by the way, I have to do. So how do you organize all of these things? I mean, you get like a really sweet acting or modeling gig, you got to hop on a plane, and that wrecks 2, 3, 4 days out of your month that maybe you weren't even planning on.
Right. Yeah. So being somebody that already works from home, so in the midst of this crisis, I know it's new for a lot of people, but for me, it's the norm. So having work from home, my business is mobile. So I can, and I have Taylor, who you've communicated with, my lead PR associate. She's amazing. So if I have to jump off and leave to do something to help my mother, take her to the doctor, or go visit my grandmother, any emergency or a work thing that comes up as far as the acting, I can take my laptop with me, obviously my phone. And with the way technology is these days, I'm able to juggle both. So if I am shooting something, let's say a few years ago, I had to go to New York and do a sitcom for CBS, I was able to take everything with me. And then during the downtime on set, I'm able to work. So balancing everything and in a realistic way, while not totally dropping my PR business, I can do both successfully and cautiously. Separating the two is important. And I don't do it as much as I used to, although I love it and it's a passion. Like I said, it's an addiction.
Yeah,
TV and film acting. But I'm able to take everything with me, which makes it easier.
Yeah, I can see that. And there is there is a lot of downtime when you're acting because sometimes there's literally nothing for the actor to do because lights are being moved, scripts are being rewritten. There are so many things that happen that are completely outside of what you need to do. And I guess if you kind of think about it, like the folks who aren't acting or pointing a camera or minding a light, they're all sort of waiting as well. Like there's a lot of time where everybody is not necessarily fully engaged on a set. But you do have a job to do as an actor. So how do you manage that part of it where you're like, I have this work to do for the PR business, but I also have the obligations to this role? Or are your roles such that you're able to like handle them pretty efficiently? I don't know. Tell me.
It's all about time management. So I'm a big list maker.
Mm-hmm.
So I have separate to-do lists for everything in my life. So
Okay.
I have a to-do list for my acting and modeling career. I have a to-do list, which is the largest portion of my life, for my PR business. And then I even have a personal to-do list for stuff around the house. I have one for my mother and things I help her with because she's handicapped. So that helps me to separate everything and clear my mind. And my motto is, before I go to bed at night, get things off my mind and onto paper. So getting a lot of sleep is important. And being, like I said, being able to organize and separate all of my tasks and duties. So if there is a day where I've gotten all my PR work done, we work ahead for our clients. We're usually working 1 month ahead, depending on the type of news cycle we're working with and the project we're working on. I can take a day here and there, shift a few things over to Taylor that she'll handle. So if I am on set for a full day and I just want to purely focus on that, like I said, which is only a few times a year, I can do that comfortably and check in with my phone periodically throughout the day and not have any issues and move forward with my business and my acting career without skipping a beat.
You are a machine. You're doing all of these things. It almost seems like nothing bad has ever happened in your life. But you and I both know you've had some significant challenges in your career. Obviously, I'm referring partly to your husband and losing him. Talk a little bit about that whole process, because there's multiple things. There's like, the discovery and I don't know what kind of cancer it was. Was it glioblastoma or was it some other kind? Yeah,
it was. Towards the end, it was a glioblastoma. He was diagnosed in 2007 with a brain tumor with an astrocytoma grade 2. And talk between Cedars-Sinai and St. Joseph's in Burbank, where we were living at the time. We were living in the Valley. It was between a grade 3 and a 2 and 3. But they settled on that it was a grade 2, which means it's slow growing. So he went on for the first 6 years to continue to work. As soon as he was done with his surgery and recovered from that, about a month later, he went back to work. But boy, when you get a diagnosis like that, on someone you love in your life, it really, really rattles you, and your life is never the same from that day going forward. So you learn the new norm. You learn how to make a terrible day with 12 doctor appointments positive by ending it with watching something funny or going to a nice dinner. You just have to balance it out and stay positive, which isn't easy for everybody. Luckily for me, I think I take after my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, my great aunt, who always stay positive through adversity. But yeah, those first 6 years, you wouldn't have known he was sick. He went on to working. He was one of the top graphic designers in TV and film. And then eventually, the market crashed significantly. Things got really difficult. We sold our home in LA and moved back to Chicago to be by family because he ended up getting work on a TV show here in Chicago, which was perfect. Unfortunately, things took a bad turn when we moved back. Slowly, his tumor started to grow back. And from diagnosis in 2007 all the way up until 2015, he had 9 recurrences of his tumor.
Boy.
He was never able to have another resection surgery, which is a removal of a brain tumor, again, since 2007, because it just wasn't fully operable.
Right.
And unfortunately, his battle got really bad in fall of 2014, and he would pass away of what we think, like you said, a glioblastoma, because they couldn't get in and biopsy.
Right.
It was just too difficult. But the way he was presenting symptoms and the rate in which it was growing, because now we're talking a grade 4 brain tumor, glioblastoma, which grows a lot faster. Things declined really significantly. It was very hard to see somebody you love go through that. So he passed away almost 5 years ago, April 29th, 2015.
Yeah. And gosh, I mean, it's, yeah, I happen to know a little bit about it because I had a guy named Attila Haidu on my show. He's also was on Popping the Bubble, and he's working on using epigenetics to deal with, in particular, glioblastoma, because it is such a scourge. And it's such a fast moving. And for those that don't know, it's 18 months. You get diagnosed with that, and basically everybody is gone in that amount of time. So if we can take this evil version of cancer and give some time, some hope, some, maybe even some health, that's where he puts his work in. And it's shocking. That's what ultimately killed a number of people that have died recently, including Senator McCain got it, and there's just no time to deal with it. The drummer from Rush, Neil Peart, he same thing.
Is that what he had? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was yeah. And so you have that finality, but before that you have the struggle and the fight. So it does change your life. The two of you, do you know that his prognosis long term is not good, or is it like we're battling and we'll worry about that later on? So after the diagnosis and as he's working, what was your new normal?
Well, that's the difficult part, is how do you move forward knowing something so awful has happened, and you have to live through it and power through. So I kind of went into go mode, and it was all about researching and finding the best doctors and finding the best neuro-oncologist. And
Yes,
you just learn to make it your norm. So every day you wake up in the morning not knowing what the future will hold. But I never talked about that with him, because I think once a patient knows, because I did research and then I wanted to throw my computer away because I looked it up, But I think once a patient knows that, they know too much. I think sometimes they kind of give up, and he may have looked it up himself, but I'm glad he didn't, because the survival rate with what he had was 3 to 6 years with the grade 2. And I'm glad none of the doctors ever came to us and said, well, we're going to give you this many years and blah, blah, blah. I'm so glad, because sometimes I understand it's necessary when someone's really getting near the end, which did happen eventually the last 2 weeks of his life. But I think that really puts a damper on someone's energy and someone's positivity and someone's willingness to keep fighting. I really don't like it. I know a lot of people would agree with me, but I'm glad no one ever told us that. And it wasn't that we were in denial. It was that we were staying positive, doing everything we could to stay up with current treatments, stay in touch with doctors. I was talking with doctors across the country, from Duke University back at Cedars-Sinai to the doctor we ended up switching to here when we moved back. And I think my husband, and this isn't common with everybody, but he was so positive to begin with, and he stayed that way throughout. So I think that helped a lot. But yeah, every morning I would wake up with a pit in my stomach, that I kind of was holding inside a little bit, not knowing how long I would have him. So we lived life to the fullest.
That a girl.
Yeah. So I'm like, when you can't control something, you got to do what you can to control the things that you can. So for me, that was doing all the research and the medical communication with the doctors and him, and taking care of him, and doing things that were fun to get our mind off of this. And we traveled, we spent money we didn't have, and I didn't care. We lived life to the fullest. I wanted to cram in 90 years in his short 39.
Yeah. So basically from the diagnosis, you guys knew his time was extremely limited, and it allowed you guys to live, because we all have that live for today or be smart and save for tomorrow. But when you know that there's only so many tomorrows, you really can adjust how you live.
Yeah, I think we were both doing that deep down without ever really talking about it. I think we didn't want to put that out there, but absolutely that's what we were doing. And one time, thank God he said this to me a few months before he passed away. He goes, we've really done so much. We've met all these celebrities. We have all these amazing friends. We've both worked on these amazing movies and TV shows. The experiences that we have had in our life, some people will never experience in their entire life. And that really helped to put me at peace, knowing that he loved his life and he enjoyed our time together.
Yeah.
And that he was happy. And I'm like, wow, what a blessing to hear something like that.
Yeah. So you go to Chicago, it starts to fall apart. You get really the final diagnosis. How about that time? As you guys know that the end is quickly approaching. How did you deal with that, and how did Ryan handle it?
He didn't want to stop working. He did not want to stop working. I got a call from someone from set that he was working with saying, we're trying to help him at lunch. He seems to be walking to the left a lot. He couldn't see well. I went down there and I realized how bad it was getting within just days. So I had to bring him home that day and talk with him and talk to the doctors and figure out our next steps. And he got so sick, he was never able to go back, but he wanted to.
Yeah.
So the worst thing I ever had to do was go to his work. My cousin and I went, and we had to pack up his stuff and bring it home. And he was intending to work from home, but he was losing vision. He was losing some cognitive skills slowly.
Right.
He just wasn't himself, not only the brain tumor, but all the medication, which was necessary. Steroids are necessary to keep swelling down in the brain. And that was difficult. So he declined slowly from September, October-ish, 2014 until he passed away. So eventually we had to notify work. He wasn't able to continue working, but he just didn't want to stop. He would barely be able to walk. He'd want to go down to his computer every day and create something. So he didn't quit. And then I got sick to the point of caregiving 24/7 for those 9 months that I ended up in the ER twice. And I was calling out for help from family and friends that were jumping in when they could. But I was still around the clock caregiving. I did not want to put him anywhere in a home or anything like that. But finally I got a call from his parents the morning after I got discharged from an ER visit saying that he had fallen off of the radiation table. So my heart sank. And his parents told me that the doctor suggested he go on hospice. I just about fell over. So I had to go to his house. He was staying with them for that one night. That was the one night he wasn't with me. So I went over there to pick him up. And I said, I can't tell him. Nobody had told Ryan yet. I said, we need to have the doctor tell him, and I'll be with him. I just don't want him to hear that coming from me, because we've been partners throughout this. And I thought that was the best way to go about it. And he was so heartbroken when the doctor told him. He just went, oh, F, is what he said. And I just remember the devastating look in his face. And we expressed, and the doctor did too, this might be temporary. It's just considered a break in treatment. We didn't want to totally, let him down. He's already upset enough about what was going on. But then they privately told me I can put him in a home for hospice somewhere, or a hospital. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to put a 39-year-old in a home. So I demanded that he come home with me, and I took care of him. And friends and family stopped in and helped. And we had it was 13 days. They thought it would be about a month, but it was 13 days. And it was hard, but we made it a positive environment. I had my friend Chris move in with me. He was willing to move in and help me with him for the last 2 weeks of his life, along with the hospice people that would check in with us, and family and friends coming in and out. And those last 3 days of his life, we had anywhere from 20 to 40 people at my house coming in. And what a blessing, just filled with love and memories and everybody sharing. And he wasn't quite with it at the end, but we knew, he could hear everything. I had the bed brought down to the living room, and we rearranged the whole house to make it comfortable. But difficult time, but positive as best we could, because seeing him suffer like that and decline was devastating.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you sharing that stuff, because it's easy to get lost in the red carpet shoots with you standing by Brad Pitt and all that kind of thing, and just dismiss like, oh, Laura has this perfect life, but you really have had a challenging thing. I want to go one more time to that era of your life, because there is that final moment, like, okay, you've been fighting like a wildcat, researching and outworking this problem until the problem is solved. And now you're released in a lot of ways. Talk about how you transitioned. I mean, obviously you got to go through the grief process, Which, by the way, for everybody listening, there's two of them there. There's the grief of your husband is still alive and dying, and you have to deal with that. And then he actually passes. So talk about, being relieved of that burden, because it's enormous.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, exactly. Good point. But absolutely. So with what I went through and him being sick for 8 years, as I had said, remember I'd wake up with that pit in my stomach every morning, especially that last year. So I was mourning in a way before he passed away.
Sure.
It sounds crazy, but from my experience and a lot of people I've spoken to in the same position, agree. You're seeing somebody suffer. It's devastating. So you're starting this mourning process while they're still alive.
Right.
Soon after that hospice, which was 13 days, he would pass away. And I was almost celebratory because this poor guy, Ryan, suffered significantly. No quality of life. And it was devastating. So I went through this phase of relief for him, for me, because I had been in such a tough situation. It was really hard. I say hard to see somebody go through that, but I always correct myself and say, you know what, I'm seeing him go through it, but he's the one who actually had to go through it.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
I say hard to see somebody go through that, but I always correct myself and say, you know what, I'm seeing him go through it, but he's the one who actually had to go through it. Very difficult. So the first 6 months, I went back into my go mode that I mentioned earlier in our interview. And I just started focusing on rebuilding my life in a way where I was just spending time with friends and family. I hate being alone. So this was a whole new norm to learn again. I hate being alone. And spending time with friends and family and traveling. Dabbled back into the acting because I had taken 9 months off. I think that's the best thing I ever did. Of course, it hit me harder 6 months later, and I had to go to bereavement group and a support group, which was so helpful. And I'm still friends with all of these people to this day. And we get together once a month for dinner. And most of the widows are older than me. I'm the only younger widow in the group, but there's also younger people who've lost parents and wonderful people. What a great support system. I'm so glad I did that. But like I said, it took me 6 months to get to that point of realizing that I needed that. And tough stuff, but scary stuff too.
Yeah. And again, you're tough. You have go mode. I mean, a lot of us operate in that way, and to be able to accept help, that takes some growth. And talk a little bit about that part, like knowing that, oh my gosh, there is help, and I actually am willing to go do this.
Right. Exactly. It took a lot for me to ask for help, but I had no choice when he was sick. And then afterwards, I started to get help in the ways of having people come over and help me go through his stuff. I moved. I had people help me with the move and reorganizing. The first 6 months after someone passes away, you kind of get this brain fog, which I also learned is normal. A lot of people get it. I couldn't put, add 2 and 2. I couldn't put my shoes in an organized fashion in my closet. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I could do it for somebody else, oddly enough, but not for myself. So I had friends come in and help me, and it was great. And I also have to point out, it's a difficult time because you wouldn't think so, but this is a time that you really learn who your friends are and your family, shockingly enough. Yeah. People dissipate. People come out of the woodwork, and then there's people that dissipate, and that's really sad. That hurts because you're already getting used to something that's really uncomfortable and not your normal lifestyle. So when you see family members kind of back off and stuff, is that hard?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I appreciate you going through that with us, but I think especially right now with the COVID thing going on, there's going to be a lot of new widows and widowers and parents that lose kids and everything. And just to understand a couple of things, like, one, everybody sucks at people dying, and everybody handles it in a different way. And to just give everybody a moment to be shitty at it, because we just, the next time it happens in your family, you may respond negatively. You just don't know until you're in that moment. This time it was this way. The next time it may be totally different. And we all got to slow down a little and just understand that this is about the hardest thing anybody can go through. Hell, our cat died, and we still haven't gotten a new cat a year later because it was so hard for us,
It is. They're like part of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for that. But now that you've gotten through the bereavement thing, you've got your support system, and you're back at go mode, Super Laura out there doing things. When this chapter does turn, what ended up being the next chapter? Like, what ended up being your focus? Like, this is what I'm doing right now.
Well, I had done a movie in New Orleans. I did a commercial in LA. I did some modeling work here in Chicago. And I'm like, do I really want to live like this and not have this consistency? No matter how well you're doing in this business, unless you're an A-lister, it's a tough business.
Right.
Like, do I want to continue to live like this or do something else? So I started to look at other options. Well, then I learned quickly, nobody's going to hire a TV and film actress and model with 20 something years of experience, because a lot of people in regular business world don't realize all you put into that. 75% of the work is handling business and working to get work. So huge blessing, an opportunity fell into my lap in March of 2016. A friend of mine called me up and said, hey, do you want to do some PR or management or something for me and my band? His name is Alfonso Rachel. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I started doing work for him. Turned out I'm not a good manager, but the PR stuff I had already been doing for myself. I'd already been doing for my husband. I had been doing for celebrity clients as a hobby and a little side thing here and there, but never really took it on full force. So this time I did, and I did work for him for a few months. And then I realized how good I was at it and how much I loved it, because I'm a people person. And within a few months, I officiated the business April 4th, which is my husband's birthday, ironically, April 4th, 2016. But I actually officiated it with attorneys in the state and filed for official business in the summer of 2016. But I count April 4th as my initiation date. And I started my own PR firm, Laura Orrico Public Relations. And I never thought that's where I would be in my life, or that's what I would be doing. But what a blessing. What a great opportunity. And now I have these amazing clients, and we are going to be celebrating 4 years next week. It's been amazing. My clients are like friends and family to me. We are so close. We work so close together. I love them all, and it's been a true blessing.
Why?
Well, I love people, and I love to do things to help people. So with what I do for clients is things that I'd always enjoyed doing and learned doing for myself. So I'm able to help people share a positive message. I have clients that work in a lot of veterans nonprofits. So by helping them, I'm helping veterans. I love getting out positive stories. We have the Search for Aliveness docuseries, and I know you've interviewed all three of the folks from that, Vito and Chad and Jay Tuthill. And what a cool opportunity. They're doing this docuseries that they've traveled the world to shoot and interview people from all walks of life around the world. And I have Michael Reagan, who is doing the Walkway to Victory, and he's sharing his Ronald Reagan Legacy Foundation, in which they're doing stuff for the veterans. It's just amazing. I love my clients.
Well, I mean, what's better than that? Like, if you love your clients, I mean, that's a very good sign that you're in the right business. If you have such a positive response to doing these things, why still do the acting and modeling?
It's just a passion. I don't know. I love it. I absolutely love being on a TV or film set. It's so much fun to me. And if I can still continue to do it, I'll do it for the rest of my life. I just get a high off of it. It's so much fun. I don't know. There's just something about it. I think it's not even that I've been doing it for so long. It's just that I've always, even when I was a kid, I dreamed of being on TV and working in movies and television. And it's fascinating to me.
But so this would be, in a lot of ways, proximity wise, a lot easier to do if you were in LA. But you live in Chicago. Is that part of what you've learned through the whole, the illness with your husband and everything, that it's more important to be home?
With this business, I just didn't have a need to have an office somewhere. I can work from home. So it's not necessarily important to be at home. I like to get out with people, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it just happens I work my business from home because I can. It's great and everything. But at the end of the day, when everybody else gets in their car and goes home, I'm still here. And I know now with everything going on the way the world is with COVID-19, people are getting used to this that have never had to do it. So for me, it's the norm. But the part that's affecting me is not being able to get out of the house after and go out on the weekends. That's tough because my home is my office. I separate everything. My space I work from is separate from my living space, but it's still here. So someday if I want a bigger house with a room, I do have a whole basement office area with an extra office room.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like to be in the basement. So not a good move on my part. I have a great space, but I like to have sunlight. So I work in the kitchen and I keep the windows open.
Yeah, same. I mean, I have my little spots where I work in the house. I usually record back in the back corner, and I like to sit in the big chair in the living room. And, then I go out and I walk around. I've got my pattern for how I do it. But the thing that I love to do the most is, and I love to record this way, but the sweetest time is when I'm sitting across the countertop from somebody in their home and we're recording, in your space, in your dojo, and being able to go out and do that is really where like the sweetest of all the experiences is. And I am missing the ability to go out and share those moments, because they really, for me on my end, what I do, they're magical. Like this is great. This is a fantastic way to do this. And it's a world-class compromise, but it just cannot replace that moment across the table. You must experience things like that with what you do, because it's so important to the person's career, what you're doing. You have to have that connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is important. And communication is important. Face-to-face communication is important. It's like right now I should have put makeup on so we could video chat, but instead I have my camera covered. That's selfish. What we try to do, if we do have local clients or clients that are across the country that come to Chicago or we go out to them, I have some clients in LA and I visit periodically. It's nice to have that face-to-face communication. If not, we do a Skype call so we can have that, or we get on the phone and we talk with them, and we'll do a strategy meeting every few weeks. So we're in constant contact with our clients, but not all of my work is at home based. I'll go out to radio and TV interviews with clients, or clients' concerts or events and restaurants and stuff like that. If they're local, like I said, if I'm visiting somewhere else or, having to be where they are, I do that too, but it's not very often I have the need to, because we can handle everything long distance.
The person that's out there that wants to get into PR, or they're already in PR and are thinking about starting their own agency, let's talk to them a little bit. Like, how do you get clients? How do you do it? Like, just how do you do it?
For me, it's all been word of mouth. If people know who you are and they're hearing about you and you know your worth and people know your worth, the word spreads like wildfire. So for me, I have not had to do, and knock on wood, I have not had to do advertising. I'm not having to go down and hunt down clients. And I hope it stays that way, but it's all been word of mouth. So social media, people finding out about us, LinkedIn, and clients who are referring us to other potential clients the entire time.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed that I have that. So for other people, my advice is just be good at what you do. Know your craft, know your business. And for me, I have to handle so much more than my PR efforts and pitching clients to the press and media, creating press releases, helping brush up their website content and their bios and all that stuff. You have to be good at that, but I also have to be good at communicating with people, handling the accounting, handling the business end of everything. That takes up a lot of time too. So I have to be good at balancing all that. So I encourage anybody who has this idea in their mind to start a PR firm, have a good understanding of business. Know all the aspects that go into it, from the legal aspects, have a good attorney to draw up your contracts, have a banker, someone that can speak to you about finances if you're not good with that. I'm already okay with that, so I handle a lot of that myself along with my accountant.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be able to balance everything and handle everything, because you're wearing all the hats when you're running your own business.
Yes, you do. How many hours a week do you think you work?
It could be anywhere from 40 up to 50 and 60 if I'm out going to events.
Yeah.
But average, I'm pretty good at time management and handling work for our clients. I can pretty much handle a good work week with 35 to 40 hours. Because I think quality of life is important. And I always said I don't want to be one of those people that is working ridiculous hours into the evening, because I've already been through hell. So you kind of learn that a quality of life is more important. So how I do that, I only take on a select amount of clients at any given time.
Yeah.
So we only handle what we can handle, because there's 2 of us. And depending on the amount of hours someone is hiring us for, I either have 3 to 7 clients at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it controlled and realistic and not overloading our workload. And then clients get a more quality of work, obviously, out of us. And that's, for me, that's more important. Quality over quantity.
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Who are your favorite clients to work with?
All of them.
All of them.
No, and I'll give you my favorite type of client is someone who understands what we do. So by the time we've taken somebody on, we explain how we work and what we do and how we keep an open communication. So as long as they have a good understanding of what we do and how we work, and I don't have to handhold and coddle people, those are the best clients. And I only work with people that we can realistically help get their message out there. We have to understand what they do too and believe in them, and be able to effectively share their story and get their message out there. So I like to work with clients that see us as part of their team. So we work hand in hand, and because of that, and people give us what we need, provide us with information we need so we can best tell their story. Those are the best kind of clients to work with. But I do love my entertainment industry clients, because I come from the entertainment industry, but I also have a lot of great business clients and nonprofits, and they're amazing and all great people to work with.
When you go through something that's truly life-changing and grinding, you develop a new floor for what hard is, for what impossible is. How does that inform your day-to-day life? I mean, look, this isn't to undermine anybody's challenges. Everybody has problems, and they're real problems to them. But you've been through something incredibly hard in so many different ways. Me and my peers, I can't think of one person who's got a lot of combat time who hasn't said out loud, I would rather be shot at than have to go through this. And this thing is way easier than being in combat,
Right.
you know? But yeah, what is that thing for you? I mean, what is that like to have that experience, that rooting, and then to experience other, challenges in life?
It's made things easier because I've been through hell.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my dad at a young age. I've, seen my mother battle MS, especially so in the last 10 years, seen my husband battle his illness for 8 years and pass away, and losing my great aunt kind of suddenly just before him, a month before him. And then a whole bunch of other things I haven't even mentioned. So you learn the things that normally would knock a lot of us down, and that's normal. That happens. But I guess like I said, I take after my mother, and she's very strong. And when I move forward in life now and something happens, I've learned to kind of press forward and handle things in a way where, if it's not that bad of an issue, just kind of take care of it and move forward.
Yeah.
Having dealt with family drama over the last couple of years and all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't expect to happen after already going through such difficult times. But my mother's been amazing. My grandmother's been amazing. I have cousins that have been a huge support system. I think it's important to surround yourself by people that support you and that are on your side, friends and family. And I think it's important too to support your friends and family and do things for them as well. And I feel like when you're sharing your story and your struggles, it's not only therapeutic, but you're helping somebody else.
Okay, enough with all that stuff. Let's have a little bit of fun. It is Friday after all, and we're all trying to start the weekend, even if it is 10:30 here in the West Coast. What's your truth as an actress? When you show up, you're like, oh, that, I don't have to even work. I know that because we had Michael Gaston on the show, and he's just this big, large guy that he can loom. So he can be a tough guy. He's sort of like Powers Booth now. Like he's a very well-established actor. Everybody's seen him in things, but he has this thing where he can just stand there and he is a cop. He can just stand there and he is a bad guy. What's your truth?
As far as who I am, what's my truth?
As an actor, yeah.
As an actor. Making people laugh. I love comedy and I love to make people laugh because that's who I am in real life too.
Right.
Although, it's obviously been especially hard after losing my husband and going through so much stress and starting a business and doing everything like I've been doing. It's hard to keep the humor. So for me, deep down though, I love to make people laugh. I'm a comedian at heart. I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I've done the sketch and the improv and playing characters and stuff like that. And for me, I just love to be able to make people laugh, like make my mother laugh or my grandmother or my little cousins, Gwen and Ruby, or people who aren't feeling well or my friends who, suffered with some difficult times. I like to be able to make them laugh. I think that's important.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. What's next for you? I mean, obviously the PR business is going to continue. You're going to do modeling and acting and everything, but I know that's not enough. I know you've got your mind on something else. I can just tell.
Yeah. I've always wanted to start a makeup company. So that
see? I don't even know you when I know you. Yeah. Okay.
It's so funny. That's been in the back of my mind for years. And then 2 books that I've been putting off writing because everything else I'm doing takes priority. But and travel. I want to travel more, especially after this. And like I said, life is too short and everything you go through is so tough as it is. I think you have to take the time to live it to the fullest. So
what places call to you?
Maui, San Diego. Those are 2 of my favorite places. I love New Orleans. New Orleans is a lot of fun. And you're going to laugh, but we have a place in the Midwest here called Wisconsin Dells.
Oh, the Dells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a kid at heart, and it's the water park capital of the world. And my cousin Kim and I take her 2 daughters there every summer, and we spend a weekend, and it's fun.
Yeah, the Dells are nice. It's
yeah, they are. It's fun for kids and adults who are big kids.
Yeah. And if you don't want to spend, $5,000 to go to Florida to go to the real water park capital of the world.
Right. Exactly.
No, but the Dells, I don't want to disparage the Dells. The Dells are fantastic. And I've been a bunch of times and it's super nice up there. But what about places you haven't been to that call to you? What's out there?
Yeah. I have a Italian heritage. My grandparents were from Italy. I never had the opportunity to meet them because they passed before I was born, but I would love to go to Italy someday. And it breaks my heart what's going on there now with this virus spreading so rampantly out there. It's heartbreaking, but I really always want to go to Italy.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful. Italy is, it takes some getting used to. It looks a lot like California. Or California. It looks a lot like Italy. Yeah, you'll recognize like the Hollywood landscape and like there's agave everywhere, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Orange trees, lemon trees, all that stuff. If you go down far enough, it's very, very similar to how we live out here. Which of course that whole space because you live in the valley. That's
right.
What's one more place? So Italy, check, got it. What part of Italy, and then what's one more place?
Somewhere super tropical, like Bora Bora or Kauai. I've never been to Kauai. I've been to Maui, but I've never been to Kauai.
Right. Yeah. I like it.
That's my kind of vacation.
That's your kind of vacation. Yeah. Are you able to slow down and stop pretty good on vacation, or do you still always have work with you?
I'm always checking my phone, or sometimes I'll set up the computer in the hotel room. But if I've worked ahead enough for clients, I can get away for like 5 days during the week and take a full 7-day vacation. It's hard, but I have to get better at it because you always come back having reset and refreshed, and that's better for the company, for me, for my clients.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For Taylor, who works for me.
Well, listen, I appreciate you sharing time with us and telling your story. It is incredible. I guess if you want to ask me a couple of questions, we can do that too, or we can just call it a show and start our
Yes.
weekends.
No, this is great. You're amazing at what you do, by the way. You really dig into everybody's background and you do your research, and I appreciate that. No, I'd love to hear more about you. I want to know about you. What can you tell me that's fascinating about you that I don't know yet?
I'm working on a project called the Prison Chronicles, where we take a bunch of rehabilitated people that have done things, including murder, and we talk about what their path was before, during, and after prison. And then we also bring in outsiders that talk about their role within the system, whether they're nonprofits or academics, trying to solve this problem of recidivism. And like the basic question that we ask is, if I was to tell you that someone who commits murder, most people, including Murder One people, most of them get out. So when they get out, what condition do you want them in? And if I told you they walk out the door with less than $1,000 in their pocket, would you be positive about their chance for rehabilitation?
Wow. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough to live on just that, right?
Yeah. And it's been an incredibly powerful learning experience. And one of the main lessons that I've pulled out was, if we recalibrate how we look at this, instead of thinking about punishment or rehabilitation, if you start with all people are redeemable, all people are rehabilitatable, when you fail at that, not constantly having people rotate back through prison. And it changes the mindset and the approach to how we do it in a way that I think is much more beneficial to society. Because ultimately, a lot of these folks, most of the people that I've talked to, and these people don't know each other. These are all independent people. They've said, I didn't meet a lot of killers in prison. I met people that were mentally ill. I met people that made really horrible decisions in a moment. But I didn't meet people that wanted to be criminals, that wanted to commit crimes, that wanted to kill people. I just didn't meet these people.
Good. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
fascinating.
Yeah.
That's something that's never been done.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, a
That I
lot of
know
people
of.
tell these stories, but I don't think anyone's told it in this way. So
Right, exactly. I like the way you framed it. Wow. Please keep me posted with
I
that.
will keep you posted. Well, listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. You've been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing. Let's talk again. Let's do some more of these, because it's just great to just, especially in this time where everybody's sort of out of sorts, we can get through really hard things. We can do really incredible things. And I appreciate you illustrating that with us.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And thank you so much for having me. You're awesome.